Hi, I'm Caroline, compulsive overeater. Thank you so much for asking me to share. What an honour to be able to share with all of you beautiful people, my best friends in the world and my home group. So I've been in OA for 2 years, this April the 11th. Lost 4.5 stone in terms of physical recovery, and my whole life has changed. So I'll start off with a bit about how it was before coming into program. I didn't want to live anymore and I couldn't see a way out. So I definitely had the gift of desperation when I arrived. My history is one of much dieting and restricting, but also binging. I've paid thousands of pounds for private therapies, NHS therapies, self help books, diet pills. In the years that led up to me coming into OA, I got divorced. I walked out of my job without any notice. And my dear Nan, who had Alzheimer's and dementia and I cared for 6 years, died. And the way I felt at that time is that I wanted to go with her and that my whole world had fallen apart. And so life was definitely what the big book calls unmanageable. And I have a letter that I carry around with me in my handbag that I wanted to share with you because I think it kind of sums up what I was feeling at that time. I was in Tenerife. I was sat on a balcony in the pitch black at 3 o'clock in the morning after binging all day. And I just felt like the most alone person in the world. And I remember crying and just feeling gut wrenchingly sad and scared of myself for my eating disorder. So I wrote this letter. Dear Caroline, I beg you to listen to me. Your excess weight is dragging you down, holding you back, stopping you from living life to the full. You lack so much confidence and energy, it's causing you to be self conscious and holding back on having fun. You feel so tired, you're aching, and you feel so uncomfortably bloated. You are such high risk of so many life threatening health problems, and your skin feels horrible, your stomach feels heavy and dragging, and you always result in dressing in frumpy dress wear and low confidence. Please, please stop this. Find the courage to get out of your comfortable hell and do something about it. It'll be easy to forget this at home and take the easier option and stay in your comfortable hell. There'll be excuses and sodits. Please stop hurting yourself. This is self harm. This has to be a priority now. You will always struggle if you don't do this, and this will always rear its ugly head if you don't, and this will never go away. Please, please, please do this for you. Please stop hurting yourself. And I would love to tell you that was my last binge. It wasn't. And I went back on the train of trying many, many things after that. One of the things that I tried just before coming into program, which also didn't work, was a private eating disorder therapy. And I also carry around this letter with me because the therapist asked me to write a letter to her of if I was living my dream life in 2 years' time, write it to her to say, this is where I am now. Now, at the time of writing this letter, and it makes me smile now, I'd never heard of OA, didn't know it existed, and I'd never heard of the promises. But I read this now and think, this is the promises. That's what I always wanted. So I've put, Dear, I won't break her anonymity, the therapist. It's been 2 years since my therapy and my life has changed totally. I never thought anything could help me. This feels like a miracle, and I have so much gratitude and relief after a lifetime of desperately wanting this. I've made it. I have so much more energy. My aches and pains and lethargy is gone. Things are not so physically effortful now. I enjoy exercising and it makes me feel great. I'm getting so much more out of life and I love a challenge. I'm traveling as much as I can afford and seeing the world, and I feel more carefree, and I'm happy to give away control to others and not always have to take control and have a plan. I'm less distracted by food and social media, and I make time to do activities of things that I enjoy that help me to learn and grow. When I'm with loved ones, I'm truly present and not distracted by the food, and I focus on the experience as a whole. And if I'm going out for a family meal or the cinema, I don't worry about the food at all. I just enjoy the company, the experience, and I never feel deprived. I'm on top of my stress and anxiety by being boundaried and speaking up for myself. And I make time for myself, and the things that used to bother me so much don't anymore. I have a number of ways that I can calm and soothe myself that do not include food, drinking, or smoking, or social media. And I don't now reward myself after a tough day with food, but with an activity that actually relaxes me or makes me smile instead. I think way more about the future than the past, and I'm better with boundaries and speaking up to myself. It doesn't damage relationships as I once feared. It actually works. I don't wait for others to permit or validate me. I can do this for myself. And my guilt and shame around my food and my body and my past have gone, and I can forgive myself and not beat myself up. I'm much more patient with myself now. I can leave food on my plate and I eat slower. Peer pressure doesn't get to me anymore, and I don't feel so irritated with others anymore. I take responsibility for myself. I feel at peace in my own skin. I actually enjoy shopping and feel confident in clothes. And I look forward to events now where I can dress up. I no longer compare myself to other women. I look at how far I've come and I'm proud of myself and know my worth. I invest in some lovely new clothes as my weight is stable and I can shop in clothes where they actually fit. I actually believe I'm worth the investment and I feel good. And I've had a big clear out of my frumpy clothes. I don't take work things so personally anymore, and I can mentally separate home and work so much better and deal with relationships in general better. I actually enjoy food now because the disorder has no control over me. And when it rears its ugly head, I have a bag full of tools to deal with it, and I can laugh about it and think I'm just never going back there again. As I write this letter, I never thought I'd write. I look to the future with optimism and excitement and hope. And I want to thank you because it means the world. I'm finally living my dream. So after writing that, and at the point of writing that, I didn't ever believe any of that would actually come true. It was an exercise they asked me to do. I thought, that's lovely, but it's never going to come true. Every single thing in that letter has now been gifted to me by the grace of God and by the grace of this program. And I thought I would die like that in the depths of that disorder. I will be a compulsive overeater for the rest of my days. And I say that with a smile on my face now. Very much a grateful compulsive overeater. And so the gifts of this program, as you can see from that letter, have just been endless. And the thing I wanted so much was the weight loss. And I am really grateful for my physical recovery, but it's given me all of that and so much more. And that started with my sponsor, who called me and read me the welcome home. I have never, ever known kindness and less judgment and more service ever than what it started with my sponsor. And I always say she absolutely saved my life and just turned up as a gift from God at the worst possible point in my life. And she was the reason why I kept coming back, and I will be endlessly grateful to her. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. This is my home group, and the friendships I have built here and the love I have, genuine, huge love for the fellows in this room, and the help that I've received along the way is something I will also be endlessly grateful for. Having a relationship with a higher power that is of my own understanding, one of unconditional love and forgiveness, and who I speak to all day, every day, chatting to, singing songs to, saying, oh, God, look at that. Can you see those stars? And of course, he can see those stars. He created those stars. I have these conversations with myself all the time too. And the joy that that brings me, and how less alone in the world I feel now that I have this higher power who wraps his loving arms around me and says, come on, we've got this. Because I still really suffer with anxiety a lot before this share. But come on, I've got this. So I have to keep my hand in God's. I want to keep my hand in God's all the time. And the work, you know, these sayings, it's a daily reprieve and it's one day at a time. It works if I work it. Credits don't have to carry, can't carry over from yesterday. It's so true. Even on the days I can't be bothered, I do the work anyway. And it's not that I have to, it's that I get to. I feel so fortunate to have a 12-step program, to have tools, to have a higher power, to have fellows, because life can still get lifey. I still sometimes have food thoughts. Most of the time I have really good neutrality, but occasionally it pops up. Or how can I escape and go on holiday? Or what can I buy on Amazon? Usually is a bigger thing now, but I can press that pause button, use the tools and move on. And sponsorship is a big part of that for me. It's my duty to carry the message to others, although there are many, many ways in which we can be of service. And I love that there are so many options to be able to do that. And it's a real honor. And I love my sponsees a great deal, and they teach me and I learn from them every single day. And, outreach on the WhatsApp groups and listening to Step 10s and, doing service in this meeting, I just really encourage, because it's really quite selfish. It's just such a joy. And it strengthens my own recovery. The big book says we have to keep it, we have to give it away. A big thing that many of you have heard me say many times before was a big realization is that I could not hate myself into recovery. So body image is a big part of my disease. But also I'm just a self-bully in general, really. And I'm very, very quick to be very hard on myself and perfectionistic. And actually being kind and gentle and loving with myself is something that this program's really taught me, so I can move on and be of service to others. Thank you. Because when I get out of myself and I'm not sat in self-pity, I can sharpen the world and I can practice the principles in all of my affairs and be of better service to others. But that is by self-care and putting my own oxygen mask on first. And then when I'm sitting there berating myself, I'm still in self. I'm then no use to anybody. So after, whether it's a defect of character or a relapse or anything, forgiving myself is always the first step in moving on. I'm so grateful for tools like step 10s. I do a nightly infantry every day. Two-way prayer has been something that's so powerful for me, and affirmations. I start my day every day with that. Meditations, trying to think of all the tools now. I read lots of literature. Journaling is a big one for me. But all these tools are wonderful and meetings are wonderful, but when all else fails, it's just handing my life and my will over to my higher power and picking up the phone and calling one of you who will give me some sane experience, strength and hope when I am not sane. And I think a lot about the set aside prayer, and I have to set aside every single day because my ego rears up and my self-will rears up and I want to take it back and work it all out myself, especially when I'm in fear. So setting aside, no point in me just asking my God for help. I have to shut up and listen. That's not something I'm very good at, but actually listening in two-way prayer allows me to do that. Meditations allow me to do that. I have to have an open heart and an open mind to have that new experience. And when I do that and I use and grab hold of like the best opportunity in the world, all the tools that this program offers, I get to have those promises. I get to live a life beyond my wildest dreams. And this hasn't been some perfect straight line. You know, life is full of ups and downs. I have a long way to go. I'm still a baby in the program. It's definitely a work in progress. And I have days where I doubt myself and feel like an imposter and think, am I recovered at all? What's wrong with me? But my ability to laugh at myself these days, not take myself too seriously, and actually say, okay, Caroline, you felt like this before. It's going to pass. You're being agnostic. Let your faith be stronger than your fear. And even if I want to isolate and hide away, not do that. Act the opposite. Pick up the phone, get connection, and just use the tools of the recovery. Almost don't have to think about it. It doesn't feel like a choice now. It's what I have to do to stay in recovery. It's vital. It's not a choice. It's not an option. If I want to stay in recovery and reap all these wonderful gifts that I get to receive, then that's what I need to do. And the practicing the principles in all of my affairs are also giving service outside of this program, in my job, with my family, with my friends. And service can be just me not interrupting people when they're talking and listening to them, not giving heavy advice like I used to, but just being kind. I always say the best two words in program are just me too, just to feel heard, just to have empathy, to feel not judged. That's some of the greatest gifts that I've received from all of you. So thank you to each and every one of you. I always call emotion a gratitude and emotion now, because it is the biggest thing I feel. I cry with gratitude. So if any of you are able to come to the convention this year, you'll probably see lots of tears from me, because it's always just, I came to the convention a few weeks after coming into program, and I think I just sobbed the whole time. But I was just so grateful, so relieved. You know, welcome to Overeaters Anonymous. Welcome home. This is my home, and I'm just realistically, and life still gets lifey, but just on top of the world. Life's better than it's ever been. Thank you. And it's better than I ever thought I deserved as well. So I'm going to stop there, but thank you all so much for asking me to share and for hearing me.